Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my March wrap-up. I think I had a pretty good reading month for March, at least for me. So let's just get into what I read. I was attempting to focus on mystery type books for March because I was thinking I would do the March Mystery Madness. I kind of did okay with it. I didn't succeed completely, but I did alright. So anyway, the first book that I finished for March, because I started it in February, that was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I listened to that on my Scrib app, so I don't have an actual copy of the book, but I loved it. I would give this book 4.5 stars out of 5. I've read a lot of Agatha Christie over the years, and this one was my favorite. It's a lot like the movie Clue. I'm assuming they based the movie off of the book, so if you like Clue, you would probably really like this story. Next, I read The Wife Between Us, which actually could work for several of the prompts for the readathon: blue cover, wedding, and new, like an author I haven't read before. This was your typical thriller book, and it was good. I enjoyed it. I think I would give this 3.5 stars out of 5. Wasn't the best and it wasn't the worst. It was alright. It was worth reading if you're interested in thrillers. It was well written. So that's about all I have to say about it. Next, I picked up The Yard, which I think I was using for the old prompt, because this is set in the 1800s in London. I didn't finish this one. I only got, let's see how far I got. I got 99 pages in. It was good. I liked it, but it wasn't fast-paced, and I kind of felt like it was taking me too long to get through, and I wasn't that excited to pick it up. But it was good, and I probably will finish this someday. This is basically about kind of the beginnings of Scotland Yard, and there is a new serial killer in town right after Jack the Ripper kind of disappears, and so these new detectives are trying to solve the case. I will say what I did find a bit more interesting than the actual story was a lot of the historical facts that were thrown in. One thing in particular, it talked about this little boy that was found dead inside of a chimney, and they were saying that, oh yeah, he was probably just, you know, sold to a chimney sweep, and he died in the chimney, and the chimney sweep went on with his business and got another kid. And they were talking about how usual that is, how that happens a lot, and I'm like, what? Why is there a child helping a chimney sweep? So I actually did some research into that, and I found some horrific stories where parents, really poor parents, would sell their children to chimney sweeps as young as like 4, because the children are so small they could fit inside the chimneys and clean the chimneys. So children were either sold by their parents, or some kids were stolen by chimney sweeps, and a lot of times they ended up dying incredibly young. Lots of kids were stuck in chimneys and died that way. Lots of them got cancer from the crap that was in the chimneys. They lived horrible lives. So yeah, I had never heard that before, and it was just awful. And so I appreciate that the book spoke about that, so I was able to learn more about that horrible situation. So yeah, I do hope to finish this book at some point, but I got sidetracked with some other stuff and I put this one down, but it was still pretty good. So then these next books were not on my TBR for the readathon. I was just scrolling through my Scribd app looking for something that was kind of quick, thriller, mystery-ish, that I could get through. So I started reading the Wayward Pines series by Blake Crouch. He's the guy who wrote Dark Matter, which was really popular on YouTube the last couple years. So the first one is called Pines, the second one is called Wayward, and the third one is called The Last Town. I started out with Pines, loved it so much, went straight into the second one, loved it so much, and went straight into the third one. So I read all 3 books in like a week and a half. It was fantastic. I absolutely give all the books 5 stars. It definitely is a thriller. There's definitely a mystery. There's sci-fi in this. There's a lot of action. There's survival elements to it. There's cliffhangers in it. I really enjoyed the characters, the storyline, the setting. I literally loved everything about this series. I'm so hyped up about it that as soon as I was done with these, went to my library and got Dark Matter so I could continue reading other things by Blake Crouch, because that guy can write. Especially for me, I have ADD, and this type of writing that just is engaging and so fast-paced, it just sucked me in. So yeah, I really enjoyed these. Totally recommend these books to anybody. It's not a whole lot I can talk about with these books because it's within the first book, it's such a major spoiler. If I tell you almost anything about the story, it's a huge spoiler. But basically, it's a Secret Service agent who wakes up with amnesia in a town called Wayward Pines, and he has to figure out who he is, why he's there, what's happening. The town is weird. Crazy things go on. I will say that I did have a ton of questions with these books. A lot of them were answered throughout the 3 books. So if you're reading the first book and you have a ton of questions, a lot of things do get answered later on in the series. That being said though, I still have questions. I really want to pick Blake Crouch's brain and be like, well, what about this and what's up with that? I also really wish that this series continued on. It could definitely use for a couple more books, especially with the way it ended. It ended kind of open-ended, and I want more. So yeah, that's my complaint. I want more. It's not enough. All right. So since I love these books so much, I kept gushing about them to my husband, and I was telling him the plot line, and he was like, oh, well, that sounds a lot like the Jason Bourne books. Basically, Jason Bourne is someone who wakes up with amnesia, has to figure out what the heck is going on. And so I'm like, oh, well, I need more of that in my life. So I started listening to the first Jason Bourne book, which is called The Bourne Identity by Robert Ludlum. And I'm not liking it nearly as much as I like the Wayward Pine books. I am a little over 200 pages in. I also picked up a physical copy at my library because I like to keep track of where I'm at. So I'm just over 200 pages in, and this book is almost 600 pages long. And I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, do I want to finish this? Am I that interested in it because there's another 400 pages to go? I don't really know. If any of you guys have read this book, let me know if I should continue it. I'm just not as sucked in to the story, and I don't really care as much about Jason Bourne as I cared about the guy in Wayward Pines. I think that's my problem. I'm not really sure what I'm going to be reading for the month of April yet, except for Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I have the large print version from my library, and I'm about 100 pages in, and so far it is spectacular. I am completely sucked into the story, and I have to know what's going on. And I just heard that the second book, or a book that's kind of related to Dark Matter, is coming out soon, so I have a feeling I'm definitely going to be picking that one up. I don't buy new books often, but if Dark Matter goes anything like the Wayward Pine series, that's one I'm definitely going to have to get. So yeah, if you guys have read any of these books, let me know what your thoughts are on them. I hope you guys have a great week, great month of April, and I will see y'all later. Bye.